boardroom doors exploded inward with a force that silenced the room. Every head snapped toward the entrance, where Evelyn Carter stood, her janitor's uniform crisp despite the years of wear, her hands gripping a stack of files like a warrior. Wielding a sword, at 35, her dark eyes burned with a fire no one in the room had ever seen. The executives, in their tailored suits and smug expressions, froze. Daniel Whitmore, the 32-year-old CEO, lounged in his leather chair at the head of the table, one leg crossed arrogantly over the other, his lips curled into a sneer as he waved a dismissive hand. "Evelyn, we don't need cleaning right now. Get out." His voice dripped with condescension, the kind reserved for those he deemed beneath him. The other board members chuckled, a low ripple of amusement that made Evelyn's jaw tighten, but she didn't move. Instead, she stepped forward, her worn sneakers silent on the polished floor, and dropped the files onto the table with a resounding thud. "Actually, Mr. Whitmore," she said, her voice steady as granite, "you're the one who needs to leave." The room fell deathly silent. Daniel's smirk faltered, his eyes narrowing as he leaned forward. "Excuse me." Evelyn's gaze didn't waver. "You heard me. You're fired." A collective gasp sucked the air from the room. Daniel's right-hand man, Jason, a wiry man with a permanent sneer, choked on his coffee. The board members exchanged uneasy glances, their eyes darting between Evelyn's uniform and the files now splayed across the table. But to understand how a janitor brought a corporate empire to its knees, we need to rewind just 1 hour. An hour earlier, Evelyn had been invisible, as she had been for 15 years. Since she was 20, she'd worked the night shift at Whitmore Industries, mopping floors, emptying trash cans, and scrubbing coffee stains from boardroom tables. To the executives, she was a shadow, a nobody who existed only to clean up their messes. But Evelyn was no ordinary janitor. She'd grown up watching her father, the company's founder, pour his heart into Whitmore Industries. He'd built it from nothing, a black man in a world that tried to shut him out, turning it into a beacon of integrity and innovation. When he died suddenly, the board, unaware of his will, installed his protege, Daniel, as CEO. Evelyn, his estranged daughter, had chosen to stay in the background, hoping Daniel would honor her father's legacy. She'd taken the janitor job to stay close to the company, to watch, to wait. But Daniel was no leader. He slashed jobs, mocked employees, and ran her father's dream into the ground. Evelyn endured it all, her silence a shield, her mop a quiet rebellion. That morning, as she pushed her cart through the executive floor, she overheard Daniel and Jason in the break room, their laughter sharp as glass. "Honestly, Dan," Jason said, smirking, "we should just fire the whole cleaning staff. Replace them with robots. Who's going to care? It's not like they're shareholders." Daniel chuckled, swirling his coffee. "Right there? Lucky we even let them in the building." Evelyn's grip tightened on her mop handle, her knuckles whitening. For 15 years, she'd bitten her tongue, but those words lit a fuse. She moved on, her heart pounding, and spotted a crumpled memo in the trash. Fishing it out, she smoothed the paper and read, "Confidential, 40% layoffs. Severance denied." Her stomach dropped. These were people with families, people like her, who had given years to the company. She glanced toward the boardroom, where Daniel's voice boomed with arrogance. "If they can't afford to live, maybe they shouldn't be so lazy." The words hit like a slap. Evelyn's blood boiled. Enough was enough. She stormed to the legal department, her uniform drawing curious stares. The young attorney, a nervous man named Greg, blinked as she approached. "Ma'am, why do you need the founding documents?" he asked, adjusting his glasses. Evelyn pulled a small key from a chain around her neck, her fingers trembling with purpose. "Because this opens the safe with the original shares," she said, "and you'll find my name on them." Greg's eyes widened, but he followed her to the records room. Minutes later, he stood pale-faced, holding the documents that confirmed Evelyn owned 51% of Whitmore Industries. Her father's will, hidden for years, named her the heir. She'd stayed silent, hoping Daniel would grow into the role. But now, she saw the truth. He was a parasite, draining her father's legacy. Armed with the papers, Evelyn marched back to the boardroom, her heart a drumbeat of resolve. Back in the present, Daniel's face twisted with disbelief as Evelyn slid the documents across the table. "What is this?" he stammered, snatching them up. His eyes scanned the pages, his arrogance crumbling with every word. "This is a joke," he spat, lunging to his feet. "You're nothing." Evelyn's heart pounded, but she stood firm, her voice cutting through the tension like a blade. "My father's will. You were never the heir, Daniel. I was, as majority shareholder. I'm exercising my right to remove you as CEO, effective immediately." Jason choked again, his coffee cup clattering to the table. The board members hesitated, their eyes flicking between Evelyn's uniform and the legal papers. Greg stepped forward, clearing his throat. "It's legitimate," he said. "She's in control." Daniel's face turned red, his voice rising to a scream. "Nobody will believe you. A janitor? You can't do this." But the boardroom doors opened again, and security stepped in, their faces impassive. Evelyn straightened her uniform, her voice calm but unyielding. Pack your desk, Mr. Whitmore, and remember you were lucky I let you in this building. As security dragged Daniel out, his threats echoed down the hall. The room erupted, some board members cheering, others sitting in stunned silence. Evelyn took a deep breath and sat in the CEO's chair, the leather creaking under her weight. For the first time in 15 years, she felt the weight of her father's legacy settle on her shoulders not as a burden, but as a crown. 1 month later, the headlines screamed across every major outlet. Former janitor rehires laid-off staff, restores Whitmore values. Evelyn, now CEO, walked the factory floors, greeting employees by name. She reinstated benefits, wiped the board clean of Daniel's cronies, and redirected profits to innovation and community programs. Daniel, disgraced, watched from the sidelines, his name synonymous with failure. At the annual shareholder meeting, Evelyn stood before a packed room, her janitor's uniform replaced by a tailored blazer, though she still wore her father's key around her neck. Funny, isn't it? She said, a smile playing on her lips. Some people spend their lives looking down, never realizing who's really above them. The crowd roared, their applause shaking the room. For 15 years, Evelyn Carter had hidden in plain sight, her silence a strategy, her humility a shield. She'd watched her father's company falter under a man too arrogant to see the truth. But when the moment came, she didn't just reclaim her legacy, she redefined it. Her story spread like wildfire, inspiring millions, a testament to the power of patience, resilience, and the courage to stand tall. And if this tale of triumph resonates with you, head over to Midnight Tales on YouTube, where we dive into stories of underdogs rising, secrets unveiled, and justice served. Hit that like button, drop a karma in the comments, and subscribe to Midnight Tales for more gripping narratives that remind us the quiet ones often hold the loudest truths. Evelyn's journey didn't end with that boardroom showdown. As CEO, she faced new challenges: skeptics who doubted a janitor could lead, competitors who saw her as an easy target, and a company culture fractured by years of Daniel's mismanagement. But Evelyn was no stranger to hard work. She'd spent half her life scrubbing floors, listening to the heartbeat of the company through its workers. She knew their fears, their hopes, their stories. Her first act as CEO was to hold town halls, not in boardrooms, but on factory floors and in break rooms. She listened as employees shared stories of layoffs, slashed benefits, and Daniel's callous disregard. This isn't just a company, she told them. It's a family, and we're rebuilding it together. She brought back the laid-off workers, offering not just jobs but apologies for the years of neglect. She launched training programs, scholarships for employees, children, and partnerships with local communities, initiatives her father had always dreamed of. Profits soared, not because she chased them, but because she invested in people. The media couldn't get enough of her. From mop to mogul, one headline read. Another called her the invisible heir. On Midnight Tales, we covered her rise in a special episode, diving into the legal battles she faced to secure her shares and the whispers of sabotage from Daniel's loyalists. Check it out on Midnight Tales for the full scoop, including exclusive interviews with former employees who saw Evelyn's quiet strength long before the world did. Daniel, meanwhile, faded into obscurity. Rumors swirled that he'd tried to start his own venture, but no one trusted a man who'd been ousted by a janitor. His fall was a cautionary tale, one we dissected on Midnight Tales in a video titled The Arrogance of Power. Evelyn, though, didn't dwell on his failure. She was too busy building. At night, she'd walk the empty halls of Whitmore Industries, her father's keys still around her neck, a reminder of where she'd come from and what she'd fought for. She wasn't just a CEO, she was a promise kept, and if her story inspires you, join us on Midnight Tales for more tales of grit, justice, and the unexpected heroes among us. Subscribe, like, and let us know in the comments, what's your favorite underdog story? Because at Midnight Tales, we believe the best stories are the ones where the overlooked rise to shine.